You ever notice how some people can talk to literally anyone about anything, while others freeze the moment conversation slows down? It's not because they're smarter. It's not because they've read more books. It's actually something much simpler that nobody teaches you, and once you understand it, you'll never panic in silence again. Most people think the problem is they don't know enough things to say. So they read more, they memorize facts, they rehearse conversation starters in the mirror. But that's not actually why they go silent. The real reason is that your brain is doing something in the background that nobody told you about. Here's what happens. When you're anxious about running out of things to say, your brain enters what psychologists call a constraint mindset. Your mind literally narrows. It's like your access to everything you know gets locked behind a mental gate. You can feel it, you know you have interesting thoughts, but they're just unreachable. So you panic. You either force something awkward or you say nothing. But here's the part that changes everything. You don't actually run out of things to say. Your brain never runs out of ideas, not ever. What actually happens is something called cognitive interference, where anxiety blocks the connection between the thing you want to say and your ability to say it. Think about it. You can have the most amazing conversation with your best friend at 2 a.m., stories flow, jokes land, you move from topic to topic naturally. But put you in front of someone you're trying to impress and suddenly your mind feels empty. Same brain, same knowledge, different state. The psychology here connects to something called working memory load. When you're anxious, part of your mental capacity is being used to monitor whether the other person likes you, whether you're saying the right thing, whether there's an awkward pause. That leaves less mental space for actual conversation. Your brain is basically running background processes that consume all the RAM. So what's the fix? Here's what neuroscience suggests. The best conversationalists aren't actually thinking about what to say next. They've externalized the pressure. They're not trying to perform. They're curious, and curiosity is the antidote. Think about how a journalist works. They never run out of things to ask because asking questions is their default. They don't need to plan answers. They just follow the thread of what the person is saying and ask the next natural question. Your brain has the exact same mechanism. You just haven't been using it. There's a concept called narrative transportation that researchers discovered. When people are genuinely engaged in listening to someone's story, really listening, something changes in their brain. They're not worried about their performance anymore. The prefrontal cortex, which is your self-monitoring center, actually quiets down. And when that happens, you become genuinely curious. And here's what's wild. Once you're genuinely curious about someone, you never run out of things to say because you're not trying to say anything. You're asking. And asking generates the next question naturally. It's infinite. There's also something called the mere exposure effect that works in your favor. Every conversation you have, even an awkward one, creates neural pathways that make the next conversation easier. Your brain literally gets better at conversation through exposure, not through rehearsal. The people who seem effortlessly good at talking, they've just had more conversations. That's it. But here's what most people get wrong. They think they need to become someone else more interesting, more knowledgeable, more impressive. But research on relationship building shows that authenticity is actually what people respond to. When you're not performing, when you're just genuinely interested, people feel that, and they open up. And then you have something real to work with. The action steps are simpler than you think. First, before any conversation where you feel nervous, remind yourself that your job is to be curious, not impressive. That single shift from performer to explorer changes everything. Your brain will actually work better. The words will come. This isn't fake. This is how your mind actually works when it's not constrained by anxiety. Second, ask follow-up questions. Specifically ask about the why behind what someone says. If someone mentions they changed jobs, don't just nod. Ask why that felt important to them. The why always has more depth. It always leads somewhere. And suddenly you're in a real conversation, not a performance. Third, listen for details. When someone speaks, they give you gold. They mention something small, a place they visited, something they're worried about, a hobby, and that's your next topic. Your brain already knows how to do this. You just have to let it. Fourth, accept silence. This is radical, but it works. Sometimes a pause in conversation isn't a failure. It's just a pause. When you stop treating silence like an emergency, your anxiety about it disappears. And paradoxically, when you're not panicking about silence, you actually have thoughts again. And fifth, remember that the best conversations are never about you proving something. They're about connection. They're about actual curiosity. When you stop seeing conversation as a performance that you might fail, and start seeing it as exploration that you're both doing together, everything changes. Here's what you need to understand. Your brain isn't broken. It's not limited. It's actually infinite in what it can think about and discuss. But anxiety is a gatekeeper. It decides when you can access your own thoughts and when you can't. The moment you stop performing and start genuinely interested, that gatekeeper steps aside. And then you remember, you were never running out of things to say. You were just running from yourself. The next time you're in a conversation and you feel that panic of the mind going blank, remember this. It's not that you have nothing to say. It's that anxiety is blocking you. So get curious instead. Ask a real question, listen to the answer, and let your brain do what it's designed to do. You have an infinite number of things to say. You've always had them,